Welcome to another episode of MuscleTV, and today we've got a very special guest, a man who has just won the IFBB Pro League Australia heavyweight amateur title. He's backing that up after winning the light heavyweight IFBB national title. We have my good friend and co-host Scotty Goebel joining us, and we have the man himself, Danny Schneider. Welcome, Danny.
Thanks for having me, boys. I appreciate that. It sounded pretty cool, you saying those lines then. I got to admit.
Mate, it's a great achievement. It really is. Tell me, you've just won a heavyweight Australian bodybuilding title a few weeks ago. Mate, how are you feeling?
I feel good, man. It's one of those things where, you know how it is in the lead up and everything. There's so much going on, the structure and all that. It kind of takes a while to hit you. So on the day, obviously, I was happy as, and then it was when I got home, I was like, fuck, I actually just did that. So, and then it kind of hits you a little bit later on, you know.
And mate, have you put on 15 kilos already from all of that delicious food you've been eating?
Nah, none of that anymore. And there's another thing too, I can't say yet, but I might be rolling on. So I've kind of stayed switched on a little bit. Yeah, I'm not going to, just if I say it, if I say something, I want to do it. So I don't want to say it. But I might be rolling on. So I've stayed pretty on point.
That's right, mate. There's only Scotty and I here. You can tell us, we're not going to say anything, buddy, if there's anything you got to reveal.
I'm looking at the Japan. That's in 6 weeks' time.
Wow,
So,
Nice,
yeah.
Danny. I'll be in Japan, mate.
You'll be there?
So I will be there. I've got a few people competing in it, so I'd love to see you there. That'd be great.
Mad. Oh, there you go.
I think it'll be quite the
I'm
Aussie
like-
contingent.
Before I came on here, I said I'm not going to say anything. And then as soon as we're talking about it, I'll bring it up straight away. You can tell I'm excited. I'm like,
I kind of bullied you into that a bit, Danny. I really did, mate. But
taking me
listen,
lunch money and shit.
mate, to give our audience a bit of a background, because you've played sport at a pretty decent level for quite a period of time. If we can sort of go back even before your bodybuilding days, mate, you went quite far down the road with rugby league as a junior, SG Ball. For those people that don't know, it's representative football. What is it, about under 16s, 17s, is it, the SG Ball?
Yeah. So Harold Matts, I'm not sure if it's changed now, to be honest, but back then Harold Matts was 16s. And then SG Ball was under 18s. Yeah.
And
that was
so
for the
how long were you playing
Penny
rugby league for? Your whole time growing up?
Yeah, I actually started out playing soccer, and then I think I was at 11 or under 12s. I made the transition to league, and then it was a couple of years there, and then they start the development squads at Penrith around 14, and then you go 14, 15, and then 16 is the big one with that Harold Matts. And then 2 years later is SG Ball. Yeah, I was lucky enough to be in the mix there with a few of the guys. Wade Graham was in my team actually back then, the name drop. I don't know if you watch footy or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mate, I was in the under 12s Parramatta development squad for the Parramatta Eels with Paul Gallen, Jamie Lyon. There's a couple other players in there as well. That was the peak of my rugby league career. It was. But
Still cool, but that's mad.
Mate, you had a head injury. Can you tell us about that? You had a head knock. I actually had a couple of head knocks myself for rugby league. It's one of the reasons why I don't want our kids to play it anymore. But can you tell us about that?
Yeah. It was so it was after SG Ball. It was in the 19s. It was just a trial match, of course, like a kind of nothing game, and I had a head clash. So I've actually got 16 screws and a titanium plate, all his or fake. I've got the scars. You can't see because I've grown my hair, but I've got a scar from there to there. They actually, the surgery, they pulled down, and then I've got the screws and the titanium plate there. I never played again after that. So they said, I was very lucky, man. It was within 1 point something mils of my brain wall at the back. It was actually depressed in from the head. I had a head clash with my own teammate, one of my really good mates. Yeah. And then that cancelled the whole football dreams. Who knows? You know how it is. A lot of people are playing Harold Matts and SG Ball at that time. Who knows what would have happened? But that's what I was wanting to do at that time.
Hey, that is a serious injury by the sound of it. So what was the diagnosis? So you had multiple fractures in your skull, and I assume you were concussed, KO'd at the time, or were you cognizant of what was going on?
For a second, I was knocked out for a second, and then I actually got back up. I was conscious, but I had like a golf ball size there, right above here, was depressed in. So when it first happened, because wasn't inflamed yet, there was like a indent in my head, and then I just remember everyone's reaction being like, "What the fuck," you know? So then, yeah, I actually walked off. The guy that I had the head clash with, my mate, he was KO'd, but he had a headgear on, and he didn't have any actual fractures or anything. He was just in and out of consciousness. Yeah. So then I ended up going to the hospital and going through it all, and then I ended up having to get the surgery and look like a monster for a little bit there. I had like 50, 60 staples across here. When they pull it down, I look
Good
like that.
Lord.
Have you seen the Goonies?
I
Have you
can't
seen
say I've seen the Goonies. No.
Yes,
Goonies?
yes.
It's you know that monster that's downstairs in the basement with that head on him? Yeah.
Man.
That was me for a solid couple of weeks, man. How swollen my head and that was. Yeah.
Man, I can imagine your poor parents, like,
Yeah.
crack skull. Now that you've got kids, mate, you owe
Yeah.
your parents an apology.
Yeah.
So was it like you're medically just ruled out? I would assume like there was no ambiguity about whether you could continue on with this career like that. That is career ending, like
Yeah,
essentially.
pretty much. Well, at that time, and then like you said, with my family and my parents and that, look, I probably could have went back like a year later or something and tried and wrapped it up. But the thing is, the surgeon and that said, with how they repaired it, it was never going to be back to what it was. So say I did take another knock there, and with how close it was back to my brain wall, if it went back any further, then that's when it would have, like with the whole brain damage thing and all that. So, and in that meantime is when I started in the gym too. So like within 4, 5, 6 months, I started up training, and that's when it wasn't even a year later that I done my first comp.
That was going to be my next question was whether I imagine you'd done some weight training just for
Yeah,
rugby in
from
the lead
footy.
up, but that was the trigger for you to move over into bodybuilding as like your physical outlet, was it?
Straight away, I needed something, man. You would know, like with injuries and that. And from young, I've always been kind of the same. I need to be doing something. So, and I was pretty lucky back then. My legs weren't like bodybuilding, but I had a bit of muscle tissue and that on them. And I was actually, you know, Gretchy. Gretchy kind of gassed me up for that first one and said that I should do it. And then that's when I done my first teenage show. He helped me prep for that.
What Western Sydney gyms were we talking about back then, Danny? Where were you at?
I started off at home after that head injury. The first half of the whole prep, I was training at home. So I had like a home setup, eating bloody Wheat Bix and what was it? Musashi bulk.
Gosh.
Before I teamed up with, yeah. So I was already got the carbs in it with Musashi bulk, and I'm adding Wheat Bix in that too. I had no idea.
And then where was the first gym? Where did you end up?
Revolutions. I'm still here now.
Revos. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Fantastic gym. Paulie does a great job there, mate. And was this around
Yeah,
the
the
same
boys are
time that
legends.
you went into the police force? Is this around the same time bodybuilding and police almost
Yeah.
around the same period?
Yeah, I went bang, bang, bang. So like that happened. Then I started the prep, and it actually fell my very first peak week for my first teenage show. I was living in Goulburn
Wow, through the academy.
through this and the first week of the academy. So I was already like a little bit of a bitch, like 19 years old and leaving home and, you know, like a bit like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. And on top of that, I was in my peak week, and like I'd smuggled a fridge and shit into the because we had like these dorms. And I wasn't obviously going to eat at the mess hall because I had my own diet and all that. So me and one of my mates that joined as well, he helped me smuggle a fridge into the demountable things there, and I had my fish and all that in there.
Nice, mate. I like the commitment. I was a firefighter for 16 years, so I have some understanding about shift work. But as a firey, we get to sleep on shift and we could just cook in the fire station whenever we wanted. A little bit different with police and also ambulance. How did you find the bodybuilding lifestyle doing the shift work on the police force? Was there challenges, or did you find that it was something that was helpful due to the nature of the work and the hours and the job?
It was like the certain days were different, man. But I'm pretty lucky in the way that I guess I can just adapt to whatever's going on. And I just had my meals always with me. So I ended up competing in, probably like 10 shows or whatever for the time that I was in the police force. And it never, like, I don't feel like it ever was a negative towards the package that I bought to the show. Like, I was able to make it work, even with the long shifts and all that. I just made sure, because sometimes you'd get forced if you're out at a job and you get a crime scene or something, you got to have, I just always had extra meals or shake in that with me. I used to cop it, but because I'd have like, I don't know, iron guts, lucky, but I'd have legit like, because they say, oh, you bring it in, you just keep it in the fridge. And when I first started, that's what I'd done. But then I got stuck a few times and we weren't getting back to the station. So like there was years where I was just keeping 3, 4 rice and chicken or fish meals in my bag and we're doing 12-hour shifts. And I'll just, you know how it is, you eat every 3 hours. I was just getting away with it.
Did you also cop a bit of ribbing from the boys? Because I know a couple of coppers, and their culture is generally not
Yeah.
chicken and rice around the
Nah.
station. The boys don't mind a midnight feed. So, as the new bloke on the block, were you copping
Yeah.
a bit?
At the start, yeah, but I think because I'd done that show, then I'd done another one not too late, not too long after, and they a few of the guys seen that I'd actually done pretty well, so it pretty quickly turned from like giving it to me, giving me shit, to like about the diet and all that, to asking me what I was eating, to then me helping them, and so it ended up all right, because then I was getting in with a couple of the sergeants as just a probationer, helping them with their food and everything, so ended up pretty good.
That's generally how it works, isn't it? That was my experience as well. If you get good at it, I'll start asking for advice rather than giving you shit about it. Mate, how do
Yeah.
you go navigating like the shift work? Because I mean, I've got some clients that rotate through from nights to afternoons to days and things like that. Do you have
Yeah.
any valuable strategies you could share for those people?
It was just that one that I mentioned earlier that really helped. I just always made sure I had food on me, because a big one that guys were saying. Obviously, I've got a fair few clients that are still in the job and all that up until now, and they'll try and use it as an excuse, and it can get you a little bit, but you can always make it work as long as you got your food with you. There's no reason why you can't, like in between jobs. Even I'll just get it in. Like you can always get the food in. It's just doesn't taste as nice, obviously, if it's cold, and you got to kind of rush. It's not the best for digestion, I guess, if you're trying to look at absolute best case scenario. But if you want to make it work, you can definitely make it work.
100%, mate. I think you've done a great job of that. So those early days, how did you go with your bodybuilding back in the natural days in the very beginning?
Yeah, pretty well. I done teenage, juniors. I got the those teenage. I think only I done the state title, and then juniors and all that. I done nationals. I was with AMB, and back then there wasn't ICN. You guys will remember, it was just IMBA at the start, and then they kind of broke up, and then it was two different federations. The IMBA and the ICN split up. So I was doing them, and I was doing AMB as well. Yeah. So 2016, I ended up winning the nationals and all that through them, and I got the natural pro card. And then I went the year after and done one of the universe shows in the Philippines, and that bloody Joel Ramintis got me. I don't know if you remember
Ah,
his name.
Joel. Yes, I do.
Good
Yep.
weapon.
Yep.
Under
Good
80s,
old,
but he gets.
yeah, nice. And mate, look, I got to ask, I mean, it sounds absolutely crazy. You copped a ban for a pre-workout. Is it true the pre-workout was not even listed as a banned substance from the TGA, but you copped a 2-year ban for that before it was actually banned? Is that right? Or did I just come across some false information?
Nah, so it was right in between that phase where it wasn't illegal yet, because you know how there was a 1,3-dimeth. It wasn't illegal yet, like it was still sold on the shelves and everything. But what they'd done, they started transitioning over to, instead of writing that, the product that I had had geranium oil extract. Obviously now I know they go on all that, but back then I had no idea that they were being sneaky and changing the names of shit when it was the same stuff. So it was actually, no, they were right with the ban, because it was actually a banned substance, but it was just that it was still available on the shelves. It was right. It was before that anyone knew that it was going to go illegal and taken off. And then I've gone and taken it. It was actually a fat burner, and I've taken it like idiot. I think it was like a day before, because the half life is nothing. I didn't even like, what's the fat burner gonna do? And it was like a natural, like a thingy fat burner. Like I don't even know why I was taking it the day before. Just if obviously if I knew that it was a banned thing, I would have not been taking it, you know. But I just had no idea that geranium oil extract was another name for that same compound when you write it in. And
Now, I got to
it
say,
got me.
Danny, I think it's hard done by buddy. Scotty and I both had supplement shops around that time. And so, you know, I'm right across the band, how it sort of came out. And then there were lots of different products that got phased out. Seems like a very tough decision. I really do
I
feel
was
for you, mate.
spewing.
How did you,
Honestly, man,
how did you cop that? So,
yeah, I was devastated, man, at that time. I remember getting the call and I was like, my heart just sunk. I was gone for ages from that. And because as you can imagine too, then people, as soon as people hear, oh, he's popped the drug test, like I was 75 kilos. Like I didn't look like I was, maybe for the day I looked okay, like on the show, but then the photos and all that come out, obviously you look pretty good how they make them. And then I'm just copped it. Oh, I knew he was on the gear, this and that. And I remember, and everyone says, oh, you shouldn't worry about what other people say, but it's very easily said, especially when you put in all the work and all that. I just remember being so devastated, man. And the fact that I knew that it was legit, didn't change anything of how I looked on stage that day or anything. And I
I
genuinely
remember, mate.
did.
I remember the social media posts. I remember hearing about you, and I thought at the time you've been incredibly hard done by. Like I really do mean that as well.
I
Why
appreciate it,
go
man.
back to the same federation? Was it to prove a point? Because I tell you what, I would have been pretty dirty. I don't know if I would have gone back to the federation because it was a
Yeah,
very grey area at the time.
I was dirty, man. But not at anyone specifically. I was like, oh, and because they had that Rob Power that was running it back then and Jen and all that, they had good people involved. Gretchen was close with A and B as well. So like it was kind of to prove a point and come back, but like it didn't really, I don't know. I just wanted to get back competing and I was obviously natural. So I just went back and had another crack.
So were you a little bit lost there in terms of direction and the timeline? Like a 2-year ban at that age feels like an eternity. Were you straight back into getting better, or did you have a bit of a flat spot there and, wallow in self-pity for a while?
Yeah, but the thing that helped and didn't help was that's when I had my shoulder surgery as well. So I had shoulder surgery. I was going to have time off anyway. But then mentally, I had the band thing, and then I had the shoulder surgery. So I couldn't even like train the house, go to the gym and like think fuck the or whatever, fuck these guys. I'm gonna just do this because I was limited there. So I'm feeling sorry for myself there. I'm crippled, getting skinny fat.
Was that the impetus? Was that the beginning of the mutant legs? Were you just in the
Yeah.
gym 5 days a week training like quads one day, hamstrings the next, calves the next, or something? Because the lower body's doing all right, mate.
I appreciate it, bro. I actually was like, I did still go down twice a week. I actually ended up stuffing up one of my hips because I still had the bloody thing on, and I was because obviously I couldn't hold the bar, but I was getting under the Smith machine, and so I was getting down and squatting, but like me not knowing, too young, and just thinking I'm fucking killing it or doing something. I was squatting, but then I was coming down and going up over
Yeah.
a little bit of time. Then my hips started going, so I'm like, oh. You just start thinking, why is this happening to me and shit? But I was doing it to myself.
So how long the shoulder surgery, mate? I mean, I know that still impacts you to a degree to this day. What
Does.
was the actual surgery for, and what was that sort of timeline and rehab like?
Yeah, I feel like I'm just broken, eh? I'm complaining about it. But these things did actually happen, man. It was funny, man. I actually had my rear labrum. So I had injuries, shoulder issues for a while. But my rear labrum by the end was actually torn all the way off. So I had to get the surgery. They had to put anchors and to attach it back on. And the reason why it's still a little bit of an issue now is because I don't know if you could, like, the shoulder and that joint, you boys probably don't know. It's obviously to move around, it's in there, but the way that they had to anchor it back on, because this was all chipped and it was actually out from popping in and out, they've anchored it back on a little bit to the side. So no matter what, if I'm going that way, it impinges just with the ball and socket joint. So yeah, for certain, like I could shoulder press, but I can't get that arm. So this one's obviously back like that. That's my good one. for a shoulder press, that's legit me all the way back. For me to get back, then I've got to push my whole scap seat, like to get it back. And that's just how it is. That's why sometimes it'll lock up, sometimes it's not.
I think it's good to talk about these sorts of things because for a lot of people, they'll get injuries like that and they'll think, oh, that's it. I'm done. You know, I can't access this range of motion. I can't do this. I can't do that. There's no point going on. And it's good to see people of your caliber, like essentially, man, top of the top, you know, like you are the best in the country. And it's good for people to see that you can overcome these things. But mate, we had a quick chat before we started recording, and I know that does still impact you because of the posing aspect. At the Sydney show, it looked a little awkward, lat spreads, even sort of cranking all the way into the rear double by and stuff like that. So what sort of steps do you take to overcome that? Because it was quite significantly improved by the Nationals.
Yeah, that first one, it was just, I'll say you the word unlucky because it kind of comes and goes with how it locks up on me. So a couple of weeks before that first show, it was just a little bit tight, and I could feel it's primarily the lat spreads. I just knew that it was off more than normal, especially in my front lat spread. And then after getting the judges' feedback, they said the same thing. They said they could see there was a little bit of an imbalance there through the shoulder, especially in the lat spread. So all I'd done from there was I just laid off doing any heavy lifts and all that, and just got deep tissue 3 times that week. Practiced the pose, and I stood a little bit differently, and just went off the judge's feedback. He gave me a couple of good pointers too. That Brett, he's a legend. So I kind of just done that, and yeah, you're saying you noticed, and I feel like through the photos and how I felt on stage was a bit better at nationals too.
That's amazing, Danny. Some big injuries, mate. And look where you are, top of the table, really. Before we get into your recent wins with the IFBB, can I just ask, was the motivation to go over from the ANB to the IFBB, was it just to be the biggest bodybuilder possible, test yourself against the best of the best? I often wonder, why people cross over. I did the same. I started in the ANB and went to the IFBB, and it was because I wanted to get as big as possible and test myself against the best of the best. So did you find that was the motivation for switching federations?
Yeah, that's exactly it, man. Even like from young and seeing guys, I just had, I guess, a look in my head of how I wanted to look, and being realistic, it's never going to happen. Staying over there, I was happy. Like, and I competed there in those feds for like 8 years or so. But then yeah, you hit a point, and in my head, I'm like, oh, I just want to go for it and see what I could actually do. Exactly
And
like you
how did you
said.
actually go with your first IFBB show?
So I done my first ever show. So I left 2018, was like the year later. So I had like a little bit of an off season, then went straight into it. And I ended up getting second at state to that aerial. Yeah, he
Yep.
was a good bodybuilder. He's a good bodybuilder, yeah. He got me in the light heavies, under 90s.
What year was that?
2020, I think.
Okay. And then competing for another few years, and you get your first national title, 2024. Now, we've all won one of those here in this chat. Tell me, mate, was it a bit of a feeling that it was unbelievable and maybe you didn't deserve it, or were you confident in
Yeah.
your look? Was it a surprise?
Yeah, well, I had so last year I actually done the heavyweights at state, and then leading into the nationals, my weight just kept pulling, so I just snuck into the light heavies. So, to be honest, I was probably more confident than I ever have been, because it's the first time I've ever been right at the top of a weight cap, and I actually felt like, oh, this is all right. I'm actually going to be like one of the heavier guys on stage. So I don't know why, because I know that doesn't matter, but that did help a little bit leading into the show, being for whatever reason. And I felt like I was in pretty good nick. I had that Sam Gardner was there, and everyone was talking about him um, in that show, so I knew he was going to be tough. And actually, the top 6 last year in the light heavies was good quality. So um, I was confident in what I was bringing, but still I didn't know like what to expect, or so I was cheering last year, man, when I got that. Yeah.
And obviously, mate, you've moved up a division this year, and the heavyweights aren't like in the early 2000s, mid 2000s when Luke was taking out national titles against a 6-foot David Ryler, who was essentially a cover model for Men's Fitness. They're actually legitimate bodybuilders, like Big Dinesh and all those guys. Did you see Big Dinesh backstage and think, "Oh God, what have I got myself into here"?
He surprised me, man, because I didn't, and I'm pretty good now because from doing so many shows. And in the younger years, like you know how you suss, you think, oh fuck, he's massive, he's big, whatever. But I'm pretty good at just staying in my own little zone. It wasn't until we were backstage and everyone's lined up and we are just waiting, and I turned around because he was right behind me, and then I turned around and then I kind of looked up. I'm like, fuck, he's a big cunt, man. In my head, I'm thinking, fuck, he's actually, yeah. And then, like, I turned around, I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. It's all good, don't worry. And then, like, it's second guess again. And then I seen him hitting a shot. So then I had another look at him hitting the shot in the mirror. I'm like, fuck, he looks pretty conditioned as well in your head, you know? So, yeah, he did surprise me.
It was a fantastic lineup, mate. And when you see a fellow competitor like that, like Dinesh is very good and a good bloke as well. I don't know if you actually
He's a legend, man.
spoke to him. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Enormous upper body, like professional, like level upper body, like absolute freak show. When you see things like that, is there a competitive part of your mind where you're like, I'm going to stick my quad right next to his and I'm going to flex that? And like, do you think that sort of stuff?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Um, I guess I just because the game plan is not to let it get in your head or thingy at all. But like, well, that's a prime example there, 'cause that's exactly what happened. It's funny that you brought up like when if I've seen him, because that's backstage, and then that was kind of in my head. And obviously when they done it was good because when we first walked out, I was already right next to him. I was between him and I think I might have been the top three or right
Mark,
from
yeah.
the start. And then obviously we do the things and then the call outs and all that. But yeah, a little bit. Fuck, a bit competitive.
Danny, they worked you pretty hard at the Nationals, so obviously very competitive lineups, and I have seen them pose people until they break, essentially, do round after round after round, and when someone can't maintain their presentation, that could mean second place. I'm curious because you held up pretty damn well at that national show, how much practice you've been doing in the lead up to it, and if you were ready for that.
Yeah, I do, man. For with posing, I make sure. Obviously, over the years, I've been stuck a couple of times there, and I've thought, oh, fuck, I should have practiced a little bit more. So I've learnt my lesson. So I do practice a lot, but still being up there and actually going through the shots and holding them because you never know how long they're going to say each pose and everything. I mean, you prepare and do as long like 10, 15, 20 seconds, which is normally longer than what they will, but nothing really is the same as actually being out there under the lights in the heat. But I'm glad that I do practice because I was trying not to show it, but I was feeling it. Yeah.
So, Danny, you won the light heavyweights. Next year later, you step up to the heavyweights. That's got to be good for the self-confidence. What's the plans for Danny Schneider? Is he going to be a pro bodybuilder or aim for it, or is he just sitting in the amateur ranks? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I'd love to be able to earn the pro card, but that's exactly what I want it to be. I want it to be earned and obviously feel like I'm worthy of it, if that makes sense. Because yeah, say I get the pro card, then I've still got a lot of work to do to be able to get on the pro stage and be competitive. So it'd be either say I got it, then it'd be a couple of years before I can actually feel like I could do something with it. Because I would like to. For me, man, I'm still like I'm 35 now. I guess I'm getting kind of old for the bodybuilding, but I'm still in it. I don't know, I just love the whole process. It's not in the back of my head like, oh, I'm over it at all or anything like that. So I've still got a lot more in me and I just want to keep getting better. Yeah, that's
I like
just the
it, mate.
mindset. Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Now, listen, Danny, some meathead questions for everyone watching at home. First things first, you've stepped up from the light heavies to heavies in 1 year. What were the off-season calories, mate? Were they out of control, or are you one of those people that can grow just with a bit of a sniff of food?
I've got to be honest with you, I couldn't tell you the calories. I'm a little bit old school in the way that I kind of work out the foods. So 200 grams chicken, 200 grams rice, 100 grams veg, for example. See the weight and everything, what's going on. And then I'll just manipulate the carbs and the fats. My protein pretty much stays around the same. Um, I know, obviously, if I'm changing out 200 grams of rice, about 60 grams carbs, and I could have however much potato or whatever. Obviously, know how to count calories for all my clients and all that. But for me, myself, calories wise, I've got no idea. Even for that whole prep, I've done my whole prep for the diet and all that myself. I've got no idea what, yeah, I legit just go off the weight of the food that week, or even sometimes when I get closer, I'll do like 3 days, or depending on what I weight and the look and everything, and then I'll change it like that. Yeah.
How about like a peak week then? Like, is it the same? Are you strategically upping the carbs? Are you just like, I'm going to pound this rice and I'm going to,
Yeah.
smash this
No,
down and see what happens?
nah, I'm definitely methodical in a way that I weigh everything to the gram, so I don't just guess. I've never every prep that I've always done, everything I'm a full Nazi with that, weighing everything to the gram. I didn't do like last year when I done the nationals and these last three shows, the first three shows that I've actually prepped myself, I didn't do like the whole depletion thing and carb up. I just kind of went off the look. I lie. I work out the carbs. So I work out the carbs. So say it's 300 grams carbs and my weight's still pulling down in the lead up. Then I'll just bump it up to 350, then to 400. And if I like the look in the morning, then I'll run another 400 carb day. I do it like that.
Yeah, nice. And
Yeah.
when, again, moving from light heavies to heavies, you obviously evaluate your body part, your strengths and weaknesses, and you do your own programming. Is there anything in particular you were looking to bring up, like in terms of the training split? I would imagine quads are once a week, are they? Or like I actually did a phase where I did quads every second week because they were just too far in front of everything, and I need to bring everything else up. Have you done anything dramatic like that to balance out the body because your strengths are very, very strong?
Yeah, well, in the this off season, I've always trained legs twice a week, like the whole time I've been doing bodybuilding. But this last off season, I only done them once a week. It wasn't until about 10 weeks out that I started splitting and doing the 2 leg days again, just because I like being able to isolate the glutes and hammies and then the quads. So if 10 weeks out, I don't know if it was for my mind or whatever, I started doing the two a week. But in the off season, to try and give my upper body a bit more attention and for recovery. And obviously I wanted to grow the chest, arms, the shoulders. I was putting obviously more time for recovery for them. And then I could hit them a little bit more frequently as well when I just dropped back to the once. And I feel like that really helps me, with the upper body.
Are you a bodybuilder that does cardio, Danny? Are you a steps man? Is there any cardio in the off season? Is there any in the contest prep?
Yeah. So I don't know if we'll say it's cardio, but I get on the treadmill. So even in the off season, no matter what, the whole time, even between the preps and all that, every single morning I'll wake up and start on 30 minutes incline treadmill, no matter what. Either that was the whole off season. And then so for comp prep, I ended up having to only go to 45 minutes treading in the morning. Then I'll do the weights in the day. And then I like doing 15, 20 minutes in the Arvo between meal 5 and 6. So that was my output.
Yeah, yeah. And mate, just Scotty touched on peak week, but for peak week for yourself, what's the strategy there? Is it the training workload right down? Is it a big carb up? What do you do for that final week?
The last few shows, man, I kept it probably goes against what like I'm just tell you what I done. Like I just kept everything the same. So I used to back in the day go, all right, Monday back and chest, Tuesday shoulders, arms, and then repeat and leave legs and all that. Man, I honestly just kept my exact same split. I trained so for the state titles, I trained legs on the Wednesday. The show was on the Sunday. And just still like I didn't do like heavy squats, but I still kept the same load and all that. I just didn't go till right until failure, but I still kept the same load and everything on there. And then then that was a 6 day turnaround. Then I just trained every day and just done my normal split again. All I'd done was because the show was on the Saturday, I done the league session on the Tuesday. But same again, I just kept it all still heavy, not silly heavy, but I kept it the same weights and everything that I was lifting in the leader. I just didn't do those extra last couple of reps where I would really grind out the last one or two. I just left those in the tank. And other than that, I honestly just left my split the same, the load the same, and yeah.
Do you ever adopt that sort of principle for your clientele? Because obviously you coach people, and I must admit, like I do, sometimes I am trying to convince my clients that nothing is wrong, so nothing needs to be changed in peak week.
Yeah.
But and it's very confronting because everyone wants to pull a rabbit out of a hat and perform some sort of miracle in peak week.
Yeah.
They want to feel like they are peaking,
Yeah.
Do you have the same experience with your clientele? Because I mean, prime example, it works for you.
Yeah, yeah. The hard thing is, like as you know, but everyone's different. So you can I kind of gauge it off off the mindset and kind of the feedback that they've been giving me every week. I'll gauge who can, but the guys that are really in it, I'll try and make them stick to your guns, but keep the strength up, keep it all there if it's all working. But then, yeah, if you've got guys, oh man, I'm just like, so I'm like, well, this is what I think we should do, but we can do this. And you kind of, I don't know, I kind of go off the feedback and everything that they're giving me, and that'll dictate what I'll tell them to do. Because, you know, some guys can handle it, and some guys, I think, either gets in their head or they're reading or someone else is telling them something, and mentally it fries them before even it's actually going to make any physical, like, negative change. I don't know if that makes sense, but
It makes complete sense. Yeah, if you're a coach that deals with contest prep clients, it makes a hell of a lot of sense. Anyway. And mate, what was the weight difference between 24 and 25?
so I ended up scraping right in for the light heavies last year. I was legit 89.8, I think, or 89.9. And then this year I ended up pulling down. I didn't think I was going to get that light, but I ended up pulling down to 93.4. So what's that? Yeah, 3.5, just over 3.5 kilos, which I'm pretty happy with over the year, because I feel like with the condition and all that, yeah.
Mate, you got the job done. That's all that matters. Listen, Danny, before we wrap up, I can't speak on behalf of Max's, but I'm sure I could put an application in. Would you be interested on getting a protein sponsorship and supporting Max's and, you know, pushing the brand, or do you have affiliations that maybe we need to know about when it comes to protein powders?
I appreciate that big time, bro. But unfortunately, I've got my own. Well, I've got the own supplement brand at the moment that was launched in April.
Yep. You want to give
All
it a
One
plug, mate? What's
Protein.
it called?
All One Protein. Yeah. So we're online with the website's alloneprotein.com. And then
And
we've
Bam
got
Bam's part of that?
me and Ty. I don't know if you boys watch UFC. Yeah, I grew up with Ty, so obviously he was doing the fighting and I was doing the bodybuilding, and it just made sense that we jumped in and done something. And I'm glad we did, man. It's actually been pretty cool, eh? And obviously it ties into everything else. Yeah, we've got the pre-workout, the greens, and meal replacement, and we're looking on expanding on that as time goes on.
Nice, man. That's awesome. You know, the first time I ever come across Ty was in the car park of Riley's gym. He was talking to someone else, and I just happened to be walking out. And he was talking about how 5 or 6 dudes tried to jump him in Westfields or something, and then he bashed them and they ran off. And, mate, that was well before the UFC. He was only young and he was an absolute monster. And even as a teenager, he was a teenager, I was like, wow, I'm not going near this dude.
Yeah, I've got some stories. He's always been, yeah, been able to throw a few his hustles.
That's awesome. And tell us, Danny, if anyone wants to reach out to you for coaching or sponsorship or anything like that, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, just through my Instagram. So Schneider Fitness, or if you just my name, Danny Schneider. And then I've got that link tree. You hit the link there and put it through, or send me a message, and then I'll be able to get straight back to them.
No, well, thank you. Would love to have you back on board, Danny. We know this is it's probably only really the start of some serious accomplishments over the next couple of years, because you haven't stopped growing and you've got a heavyweight national title. So congratulations. Thank you for coming on to Muscle TV. We really appreciate your time.
Nah, thanks for having me, boys. You guys were the OGs when I first started. I mean, you still are, don't get me wrong. But I just remember, just quickly, Shambi, I remember coming to watch Gretchy. He competed back at that Sharks. I don't know, was it Cronulla?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And he looked good and everything, don't get me wrong. But I was with Ash, I'm like, oh yeah. And then you came out and guest posed. And I just remember looking at you must have been close. So you just done a show? You just done a show, or you're about to do
I
a
just
show?
won my pro card, I think. I was wearing rainbow
Yeah.
Asics gels on stage, posing in just little footy shorts, mate.
Yeah, you got your gear off, and I just remember looking at Ash, my wife, and I said, fuck yeah. So
No, thank you, mate. Thank you.
You've
We're-
inspired me too, and Goble's legs too, see?
Yep, I'm glad
Thanks
you
for
threw
having me,
something in
boys.
for Scotty. He'd be disappointed otherwise. No, thank you for coming on, mate. Listen, if you like the content, please leave us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Put the notification bell on to be notified when we drop a new video. Thanks for watching Muscle TV podcast, and we'll be back next week with a new episode.
There's no cure for this way.